Okay, this is teachertrainingvideos.com, and today we're going to look at a website called VoxoPop. It's unusual for me to normally do a set of training videos about a website that I haven't actually used, but I saw this presented and I had come across this website actually I think perhaps it was even more than a year ago, but in fact I wasn't quite aware of just how interesting it is. Basically what it allows you to do is to create discussion boards, but these are discussion boards that are orally based. In other words, you record your voice. Now, to give you a bit of an idea, let's just actually look at an example. If we go to the featured talk group here, we can see an excellent example of the sort of thing that I'm talking about. The interface makes this really easy to use. I think that any teacher could work with this tool. We've got an example here, and basically we've got all these different topics that have been set up, and we've got one here called Let's Introduce Ourselves, and we'll just click on that and just see an example. And what we get is a series of recordings where someone first of all asks a question and then other people reply or add to the thread. And in fact, if we look below here, we can see that by moving here, we can see that in fact a lot of people have been adding to this particular thread, which was started by a teacher in Argentina. So this can be great for discussions, particularly if it can be obviously an organic discussion that develops as people move and add to the thread, or it could be a specific question that we set at the beginning and then the other students or participants add their answers. So for example, with this one here, if we click here, we can listen to the first question in the thread, which is a teacher introducing herself, and just click and listen for a little bit.
Hello everybody, this is Marina, your English teacher, and well, the idea here is to talk a little about ourselves, to introduce ourselves, because we have just started our course together.
So this teacher has started this course, she's introducing herself, and then the other members of her class or the other members of her course then add their recordings afterwards. Obviously in the next videos I'll show you how to do this. I thought it would be interesting to introduce the idea first. If you play the first one all the way through, it will then automatically jump to the next recording. I'm going to jump straight on. We can listen to see someone else speaking now.
Oh, hello dear teacher. My name is Carlos. I know I'm not in your class, but I just found your conversation interesting.
So this person isn't actually in Maria's class, but he has added his reply in because she's obviously left this as a public setting. When you do these recordings, you can set it to different levels of participation, either controlled or completely open, etc. I think this tool's got a lot of possibilities for getting students sharing ideas and discussing things. I'm certainly going to be using it in my classes in the future and testing it out. So in the next videos, I'm going to take you through and show you how to set up your own topic, and then how to actually set up a discussion, and then how do other people come in and join that discussion and add their contributions to it. It's fairly easy to use, it's a pretty flexible tool, and obviously great for you to encourage your students to do speaking activities outside of the class particularly. Of course they could do the recordings in the lesson, but it may be something very interesting to set up for discussions, for collaboration, for brainstorming around a particular topic. I can see that this website's got a lot of potential. One of the things that you may be interested in doing is exploring other talk groups that are currently available on the site and that are public. Remember, there are various settings, and we can actually use, for example, let's look under technology and see if there are any discussion groups around the area of technology. We could look at ICT, we could look at ELT, and we can see some examples here straight away. So integrating technology into the other, discuss what technology is. And this is an example of a VoxoPop group that we can actually join, and you can see that the discussions are taking place and that people are actually involved and adding there. So we've got some various questions here, this one here, and we can see how many people have been involved in those discussions. and since these are public, and we can just check this, in fact no, this one here, it says here anyone can join. So join this talk group should mean that I can actually just simply join that talk group. In fact, if we click here, here you need to join this talk group. You need to, this is an open talk, so just click the button below to join instantly. So I can join this talk group at any point I want to, and then simply now I can actually add to the talk group discussion. So for example, if I was to join this particular discussion, then I could now just click here and add my recording to the discussion. Obviously, probably what I'm going to do first of all is listen to what other people have been saying about this particular area. So you can see it's very interesting as well in terms of you joining groups, and if a group is actually public, then you don't even need to wait for the approval from the administrator. You simply request to join the group and you can join immediately. First thing we need to do then is to join up, so we're going to click here and actually create an account, and as you'll see it actually asks for very little information, which is always good news. You need to put in a username, password, confirm your password, put an email address, the type of user that you are. You can either add up an image or you can choose one of the images from here. There's some additional information that you can add in, but you're not obliged to do that if you don't want to. Once you've signed in, you'll be brought to this page here, and you've got a few things that you can do now. You can, and what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to record a personal message to add to my recording. You don't have to do this, but if you want to include this, then you can do. And so I'm coming to the page where we can add a personal message, and just wait a second for the page to load. You may notice that you're asked to add in the it's a Java plugin, so if you do get asked this, then obviously you need to run that plugin to add in and make your make the audio recorder work. So this VoxoPop does require a Java plugin, so I've just clicked that in, and now I'm going to record my message. Hello, yeah, my name is Russell Stannard, and I run teachertrainingvideos.com, and I'm going to use this VoxoPop site as a way of gathering data and feedback about the various tools that I focus on my website. If you're interested in looking at my website, it offers free screencast videos to teachers, particularly for language teachers, and the address is www.teachertrainingvideos.com. So I can add my message, and you just saw me do that, and then I click here to save my message, and that will now be uploaded onto my site. And in the next screen we'll start to look at my profile. I've added up my picture and added some information about myself when I signed in, and then we'll move on to actually set up our very first discussion board. Obviously this is a great, or could be a great tool. As I said, I've not used it, so could be a nice tool to use with your students if you wanted to create some discussion boards. So it's probably a good idea to create a fairly clear personal profile so the students can know about you and what you're doing. So here we can see, for example, a little bit of information about me. And I've put here a little bit of information in my profile. I've added my website. I haven't put much additional information about myself. I can always go back and edit my profile if I want to add some additional information, if I want to change my password or update with a different image, or add in more information about the town and city or my Skype address, etc. So you can always update your personal profile. You just saw me add in my message. If I want to listen, I can click here and just listen to the message that I produced. Hello, yeah, my name is Russell Stannard, and I run teachertrainingvideos.com. And here, this is more or less kind of like your home page. You've got the talk groups that you've created. Now, obviously, at the moment, I haven't created any talk groups, and in the next videos, we'll start to look at creating talk groups, and then how do we get students to join in those talk groups and add their comments. let me just discuss what a talk group is. A talk group is like an umbrella for an overall group of people, and within that talk group you might have many discussions. So you could think about, say for example, if you're teaching English, having level 1, level 2, level 3, and creating a talk group for each of those levels, and then within that talk group you will have obviously different discussions. So you may have a discussion every single week. So the talk group is really an umbrella grouping. Now you can join talk groups. There are many public talk groups within VoxoPop, and in fact at the beginning of this we were looking at one when we were looking at the one of the teacher had set up in Argentina. But if we want to start our own talk group, and that's how we're going to work from now, we need to click here, start a talk group. So if I click on this button here, it allows me to come to a page and name my talk group. Now the first talk group I'm going to create is actually about it's for teachertrainingvideos.com, and it's a discussion on using my brain chart, which is one of the tools that I've been introducing recently at presentations that I've been doing. So I'm going to start to fill in the information here. One of the things that you notice, you can obviously choose your type of group, you can give that talk group a title, is that you've got different levels of access, and we need to focus on these. Access, public, anyone can view and listen, anyone can become a member. Restricted, public can view and listen, anyone can apply for membership but must be approved by a talk group admin first. Private, no access to the public, membership by invitation only. So if you were working with a particular class, you may decide to choose private, depending on whether or not you want to allow other other people outside that group to listen, or you may choose to use the restricted, so that other people outside of the group can listen to the recordings but can't actually add their recordings. Obviously, if you choose open for a particular grouping of people, it means that anyone, even from outside, can actually add their contribution. So you've got different levels of control that you can decide to use, and this is quite important and something you need to think about a little bit, particularly if you were, say, working with a younger group of students, because obviously if you do have a very wide grouping and allowed to open access to it, then obviously you've got to be aware that there is the danger of people saying something inappropriate that other people have got access to. So consider this very carefully before you make a decision. So I've just, for this initial one, I'm restricting it quite to basically people need to be approved to before they can become members of this talk group. I'm going to share it onto my website, and then people can request for membership if they want to join. I've put in a description of what the talk group is going to be about, so it's going to be a series of discussions about the different technologies that are available on teachertrainingvideos.com, and I've not put in any rules of conduct or at this moment any discussion zones. So this is all my settings. I've added up my image again of teachertrainingvideos.com. Of course I could have loaded a different image. You may have a different image for each talk group. Say it might be, say for example, class 1, class 2, etc. Then create my talk group. So click the button here and it will create the talk group for you. Now what we really need to do is to add the first discussion. Okay, so this talk group is called Teacher Training Videos, and now what I can do is actually create a discussion to get people started, and you'll also see some of the other information about me, the number of members, when it started. As I said, this particular talk group needs approval to join. Now if I actually want to start a talk group, the easiest way to do that is to click here, record a new discussion. So this is going to be my first discussion within the talk group. So I click here to make my recording. So you may have a whole series of different discussions within a particular talk group. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is give my discussion a title, and I'm going to write the title, "What do you think of my brain shark?" Simple question, and I'm just going to now add the actual audio question. Yes, some of you may have used my brain shark, and I just wondered what you think about the tool and its possibilities for using in the language classroom? Is it something that you would try to use? Is it something that you think has got a lot of potential? Do you think it's easy? Etc., etc. Really just a general discussion about what you think about the potential for using My Brainshark as a language tool. So I've done the recording. I can then here add some keywords if I want to. So I'm going to put ICT, I'm going to put My Brainshark, technology, or EdTech. I can add some, and I'm leaving this at the moment as a discussion zone. I'm calling it general discussion. There's no harsh language, and add to your watch list. Now this means that I can therefore follow and know if any students or anyone records and adds an answer to the question. So I'm going to click on Save Message, and that has been added now. So I've actually created my first discussion board, and now all I've got to do is wait to see if anybody actually answers that question. Now for the sake of this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter as another person, and then we'll see if we can then add a reply to the question. So you'd see what the students would do if they came into one of your talk groups and joined a discussion and wanted to add their answer. So let's go back to the talk group that we've created, which is called teachertrainingvideos.com, and within that talk group we've got one discussion. What do you think of Brainshark? And we can click on that here, and what we can see now is that so far there's just one recording. Now if we invite other people to join this group, then they could actually come in, join the group, and then add their reply. So at the moment all we've got is this. Yes, some of you may have used My Brainshark, and I just wondered what so what we can do now is look at how do we actually get this out to make other people aware that the question has been set, and invite them to answer the question. Now remember that you've created a talk group, and then within that talk group you've got these different discussions. So the talk group is called Teacher Training Videos, and this particular discussion is about My Brainshark. So it's at the talk group level that we invite people, and then anyone within that talk group can obviously join any of the discussions that are created. In this particular case we've only got one discussion created, so the best thing to do is to go back to the talk group and then to invite people to join the talk group. Now there are obviously various ways that this can be done, lots of different tools for sharing and contacting students, but the one way is to invite others to join. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to send an email to myself on another email account and invite that person as if it's another person to join the talk group and to then actually participate in the discussion. So you can add up to 20 emails, and I'm just going to send out the invitation, and that will now send an invitation. You need to write a short message. So sorry, join my talk group. So I'm going to send out an invitation, and obviously what you could do is email a group of people, email individuals. There are lots of other ways that we'll come back to later, looking at sharing. We know that that particular invitation has been sent. Now what I'm going to do now is go into my email account, get that invitation, join the group as if I was somebody else, and then add to the discussion so that you can see how that works. One thing that I've noticed about this way of joining, and let's just click here, it says join my group, a message from Russell, join my group. So if I reply to the message from Russell, I still have to contact Russell and tell him that I actually want to join this group. You don't automatically go in. You first of all will need to sign up if you're not already a member of VoxoPop VoxoPop, you will need to sign up. Now I've signed in as Gary1960, so I've signed in on another account. Now I've replied to the invitation by clicking on the link, but I've still got to send a request now to Russell to join the group. So it's not quite as easy as just simply clicking on the invitation and you are automatically a member. You still need to actually contact Russell. So if I click here and I'm just going to write, can I join the group, request membership now, and that request will be sent to Russell. I will need to approve the membership, and then that person will be able to actually add to the discussion. So it does still require, despite the fact that the person who creates the discussion group sends out invitations, the students reply to those invitations, but it still requires approval by the person that set the talk group up before they can actually join the group. I thought that what would happen is that when I'm sent the email, or when I send the email to the student, that they could immediately join the talk group, but they still need to send a request. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now you need to approve once someone makes a request to join your talk group, and if you just click on the home button here, it's probably the easiest way to find it. So actually, so click here, which will take you to your page. So what you'll do is you'll see that there's an admin button, and you click on admin and it will take you to any requests, and you can see here someone, and we're going to approve, and now that person will become a member of that particular talk group. So if we then come back to the talk group, so what we need to do is click on talk groups, because it's actually a talk group that we've already started, and this particular talk group is called teachertrainingvideos.com, and hopefully now we'll see that there are in fact 2 members of this talk group now. So the member Gary1960 could now add his recording, because I have approved that member to join the talk group. So let's go back in now as Gary. So I'm going to re-log in as if I was a student now, and add my reply to the original question. Okay, so I'm now logged in as Gary, and probably be a good idea just to see, here I am, and now what I can do is, because I've obviously invited myself or requested to be part of a talk group, Russell has approved Gary, and so now if I check on my talk groups, I can see that I'm in this talk group. I can click on that talk group, I can go to the first discussion, and I can add my reply. So all I need to do is simply click on record message, and I'm going to add my message now, and just going to wait for the recorder to load. I'm going to click here and just put, yeah, I think My Brain Shark is a great tool, because I like the flexibility of it, the fact that you can add video and images and PowerPoint presentations, and add these all into a presentation and then pack it together and share it on the internet or in the blog. It's got really a lot of potential. I've done the recording, I'm going to save the message, and now what that means is that there will be an answer. Now, if we go back to the talk group now, in fact, we should have gone to the discussion, sorry, should have just jumped straight to the discussion. You'll see that the discussion now has 2 recordings, the first one made by Russell and the second one made by Gary. And so students can keep adding and adding and adding, and that is the way that you could develop VoxoPop. Now obviously, you, as the administrator, you can add more and more questions. You're not just limited to one discussion. You can have many discussions taking place within a talk group, and you can have multiple talk groups, and you can join other talk groups as well. But this, what I've showed you here, is the basics of the way that VoxoPop works.